The only thing I'm ready for is danger and awesome. Pew, pew, pew!
Hey, thanks for coming back to the chopping block. You might know I made a series of videos for TFB TV comparing real-world guns to the guns in the world of the Fallout series of video games. Although I had several more videos planned, my producer decided it was best not to saturate the channel with Fallout content. I don't disagree with him in the slightest, but I can shit all over my own channel to my heart's content. So today, we're going to compare the 44 in Fallout 4 to real-world 44 Magnum. The Fallout universe is set in the future of a world that has an alternate history from our own. Their world is mostly the same as ours up until about 1947. The biggest difference between our respective worlds is that the transistor was never invented in the Fallout world, but they were able to advance nuclear technology much farther than we have. Fallout 4 is set about 200 years after a global nuclear war in 2077. And before anyone asks, no, I don't have any plans to do Fallout 76 yet. I still haven't played it and I have no plans to, although I'm sure I'll get around to it eventually. Everything I've heard about it makes it sound like hot garbage, and I don't mean the numerous glitches. It's just not very Fallout-y. Fallout is supposed to be a role-playing game. That means it ought to be about stories and character, and none of that seems to be present in Fallout 76 outside these notes from the past. That was a nice extra in other games in the franchise, but it shouldn't be the sole storytelling vehicle. So, for now, I'll just be looking at the guns in Fallout 4. Although previous games in the series specifically refer to the cartridge as 44 Magnum, Fallout 4 simply calls it 44, leaving one to wonder if it's actually really 44 Magnum, 44 Special, 44 Russian, or some other 44 caliber cartridge. The real 44 Magnum was developed by Elmer Keith, the patron saint of revolvers. Elmer developed Harry Callahan's pride and joy by experimenting with higher pressure loads of 44 Special. Eventually, he was able to talk Remington into manufacturing his load as 44 Magnum, which used a longer case to prevent chambering in 44 Special revolvers, and he convinced Smith & Wesson to develop a revolver intended to handle the new cartridge. The Model 29 was released in 1956. That puts it far enough after the deviation in timelines that someone could make a solid argument that the cartridge in the game is not actually 44 Magnum. But the base damage on a 44 pistol in the game is 48, and the base damage on a 38 pipe revolver in the game is 24. Of course, these comparisons are all in fun anyway. The game designers clearly know next to nothing about real guns, so it's left to fans to flesh out the details. But I enjoy geeking out on stuff like this. I hope you do too. Most of the 44 revolvers in the game look like Smith & Wesson Models 29 or similar. But Kellogg's pistol looks kind of like Smith & Wesson's 629 competitor, but with a longer barrel, an extra cut, and no weights installed. It is an alternate timeline though. The 44 revolvers in the game are always fired in single action. That means the lone survivor cocks the hammer with his thumb for each shot, and the trigger performs the single action of releasing the hammer as opposed to firing in double action where the trigger performs the double actions of cocking and releasing the hammer. Bethesda's never been great about getting details of guns right, but I think the better way to handle this would have been to fire in double action when hip firing and single action when you're aiming down sights. Fallout really doesn't hip fire handguns anyway, which I think is the better choice. In Fallout, hip firing is already not literally firing from hip level, but more of a gross point shooting style of aiming versus the fine aiming mechanic of looking down the sights. Another way to handle it would have been to have the lone survivor cock the hammer after, say, 3 seconds of aiming, at which point the accuracy would improve. But again, Bethesda seems to care very little about realistic firearm mechanics. The 44 revolver isn't as bad as the semi-auto rifles that eject from the left side of the receiver, but there are a couple of details that I find annoying. The first is that the lone survivor always reloads by flipping the cylinder closed with a flick of the wrist.
You like them puppies? We grow everything extra mean on the island.
This isn't so much a technical inaccuracy as you can certainly do that, but it's really bad for your revolver and you shouldn't do it. The other issue was even more annoying to me, and that's the fact that every time you unholster your revolver in the game, the lone survivor spins the cylinder. That's something you simply can't do with a double-action revolver like the one in the game while the cylinder is closed. Of course, you can do it with a single-action revolver when the hammer is at half-cock, but that's not the kind of revolver seen in the game, and obviously you could spin the cylinder on a double-action revolver when it is open. But that doesn't make the cool Hollywood zzz sound because the ratchet isn't spinning against the hand. Just like in the game, 44 Magnum is beast mode in the real world so far as terminal effect is concerned. There's a saying that pistols are pistols and rifles are rifles, implying that rifles are simply far and away more powerful than pistols. And that's true. For lesser calibers anyway. But 44 Magnum is in a class all its own. It's really more comparable to intermediate rifle cartridges in terms of energy. 223 and 44 Mag are both around 1,200 foot-pounds depending on the load. And we see that reflected in damage on living targets. There's a reason that 44 Magnum is so popular for hunting and large animal defense. Few other cartridges can produce wide, deep cavities like the 44 Magnum. Sure, other cartridges have been introduced since Harry Callahan first declared his Model 29 to be the most powerful handgun in the world. But at the time, it truly was. And the extra power that comes with those modern 500 truck nuts calibers also comes with a larger frame and increased recoil. Now, I personally don't believe that 44 Magnum is a great choice for personal defense because when you are fighting another human being who is trying to kill you, the biggest factor that will determine whether you make it home or chase room temperature is your ability to get multiple, rapid hits to vital organs. The low capacity, heavy recoil, and muzzle blast of 44 Magnum makes that more difficult. But 44 Mag is an outstanding choice for a trail gun. One of my absolute most favoritist guns ever is my Smith & Wesson Model 69 Combat Magnum. It's an L-frame, 5-shot 44 Magnum with a 4¼ inch barrel. Like any gun, it's a compromise, but a good compromise achieves a perfect balance of features. The scandium frame Smiths are lighter and carry easier, but they're harder to shoot well. This gun is light enough to be convenient to pack around while being heavy enough to shoot full power 44 Mag effectively, and it's a real pleasure to shoot 44 Special or lighter 44 Mag. Being a revolver, you can load a round of snake shot in the first charge hole, which is not a bad feature for a trail gun. If you're attacked by something larger than a snake, you will likely shoot that cylinder dry. And while the snake shot will do fuck all to stop a mountain lion, it's also not exactly a cool breeze. A face full of shot is still a face full of shot, especially if it's followed by a pair of 240 grain jacketed soft point at 1,300 feet per second. So did Bethesda get the 44 Mag right? Well, they don't get anything 100% right when it comes to guns, but the cylinder swings out to the left side, the cartridge is quite powerful, and the guns look very much like real-world Smith & Wesson revolvers. So, sure, I guess they got this one closer than they did any of the other guns in Fallout 4. If you like this video, or if you like watching gun videos in general, please do what you can to support the folks who make gun-related content. When we ask you to like and comment and share and subscribe, that's because those actions really do help a video and a channel perform much better. But another thing that helps a great deal is to disable your ad blocker, at least for channels that you wish to actively support. If you allow the ads to serve, watch them, or even click through, that improves the video's performance in YouTube algorithms. Please help support all the YouTube gun channels. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
You got